In a small apartment in Helsinki, 1991, a quiet young man was writing code that would reshape the tech world forever. His name was Linus Torvalds, not a CEO, not a billionaire, just a student with an idea. That idea, a free open-source operating system, simple, fast, and for everyone, that tiny project, would later become Linux, the unseen engine behind billions of devices today. Before Linux, Linus had a fascination with operating systems sparked by a beige box, the Sinclair QL. While others played games, he dove into its inner workings. At the University of Helsinki, he encountered MINIX, an educational OS that felt limited. Frustrated yet inspired, he asked a bold question: why not build my own? That moment of quiet rebellion became the origin point of the Linus Torvalds Linux story. On August 25, 1991, Linus posted a message on a Usenet group: "I'm doing a free operating system, just a hobby. No press release, no marketing, just raw code and a call to collaborate." That post quietly marked the beginning of the Linus Torvalds Linux story and the birth of a movement that would challenge Microsoft and forever reshape tech culture. Within weeks, developers from around the world joined Linus, reviewing, improving, and contributing to the Linux kernel. There were no salaries, no offices, just pure collaboration. From dorm rooms to basements, a global brain trust emerged. They weren't just writing code, they were rewriting how code could be written. Linux became more than a system, it became a philosophy, and its heartbeat pulsed through every terminal everywhere. While Microsoft dominated the world with Windows, Linux grew in the shadows, quietly, relentlessly. It didn't crash, it didn't cost money, and it didn't belong to any corporation. Linus wasn't trying to fight giants, he just believed in better code. But unknowingly, his creation was becoming Microsoft's worst nightmare, a global, volunteer-built alternative that kept improving, while never asking for permission. In 1992, Linus made a radical decision. He licensed Linux under the GNU General Public License. That meant anyone could use, study, or change the code. Forever, he gave up control to gain momentum. It wasn't about ego, it was about freedom. That move unlocked a tidal wave of innovation and turned Linux from a lone coder's experiment into a global, living project that no one and everyone owned. As the 90s ended, Linux quietly escaped the hobbyist bubble. Tech giants, once skeptical, began adopting it. IBM poured in $1 billion. NASA used it to run space missions. Google built its empire on it. Linux had moved beyond desktops. It now powered servers, supercomputers, and the entire internet. Linus hadn't built a product, he had built infrastructure, the invisible backbone of the digital world. Despite his brilliance, Linus wasn't perfect. Known for blunt emails and fiery debates, his leadership style sparked controversy. Some saw a passionate coder, others a toxic boss. In 2018, he took a step back, publicly apologizing and committing to change. That moment revealed something deeper. Even legends must evolve. And in the heart of the Linus Torvalds Linux story lies not just code, but humility. Today, Linux powers everything from Android phones to stock markets, smart TVs to Mars rovers. It's in 96% of the world's top supercomputers, and yet most people have never heard of its creator. That's the paradox of Linus Torvalds, a man whose quiet work affects billions without needing fame. The Linus Torvalds Linux story isn't just tech history, it's proof that true impact doesn't always make noise. Linux didn't win because of money or branding, it survived because it worked. Developers trusted it, universities taught it, companies built on it. While other systems locked users in, Linux invited them in. Its strength came not from a corporation, but from a community. And at the heart of that community, Linus, still reviewing code, still shaping the kernel decades after that first post. Linux's rise wasn't smooth. Within the open-source world, bitter debates raged. Disagreements over direction, licensing, and code style fractured communities. Some forked away. Others accused Linus of being too controlling or not enough. Yet through it all, the kernel remained, updated, maintained, unified. The Linus Torvalds Linux story isn't one of peace, but persistence. Because real innovation doesn't come from agreement. It comes from surviving disagreement. Linus never wanted to be a manager, so he built tools to avoid becoming one. His most famous creation after Linux, Git. Yes, the same Git used by millions today. It wasn't just version control, it was control without hierarchy. A system where trust is earned through code. Like Linux, Git reflected Linus's mindset, practical, decentralized, and built to scale without a boss. Unlike Jobs or Gates, Linus never became a household name. No product launches, no TED Talks, no fame. He once said, "I'm not a visionary, I'm an engineer." And maybe that's why Linux thrived. It wasn't built to impress, it was built to last. The Linus Torvalds Linux story proves something rare. You can quietly shape the future and still walk down the street unnoticed. Imagine a world without Linux, no Android, no smart TVs, no free operating system to balance corporate giants. Maybe we'd all still be paying for clunky software or stuck inside walled gardens. The Linus Torvalds Linux story isn't just about what was built, but what was prevented. His code didn't just create freedom, it quietly protected it line by line, update by update for decades. To Linus, Linux was never about power, it was about elegance. He once said, "Bad programmers worry about code, good programmers worry about data structures." That mindset shaped every release, clean, efficient, logical. It wasn't just software, it was an ideology. In a world chasing flashy features, Linus chose structure and simplicity. And that's why the Linus Torvalds Linux story endures, its philosophy embedded in code. While Linux scaled the globe, Linus stayed grounded. He moved to the US, raised a family, and kept a low profile. No lavish lifestyle, no tech conferences every week, just bikes, books, and code. His world wasn't built on applause, but balance. Behind the scenes of the Linus Torvalds Linux story was a man choosing normalcy, even as his software became anything but ordinary. Decades later, Linus still oversees the Linux kernel. Every merge request, every patch still flows through his judgment. While tech trends rise and fall, the Linux development cycle marches on calm, relentless. No hype, no rebrands, just a rhythm of code that never sleeps. And through it all, one quiet engineer remains at the helm, steering the most important software project the world barely talks about. Linux today isn't just Linus's, it's the work of thousands. Engineers in Brazil, students in India, sysadmins in Kenya, all contributing to one shared mission. In no other project do people from every continent write the same lines of code, for everyone. The Linus Torvalds Linux story has become our story, proof that open collaboration can cross borders, cultures, and time zones without ever needing permission. Linus controls Linux, but he doesn't own it. That paradox is the core of open source power. No patents, no gatekeepers, anyone can fork it, improve it, even challenge it, yet most still follow the mainline because leadership isn't forced, it's earned. The Linus Torvalds Linux story shows something rare in tech, authority by merit, not monopoly. In a digital world built on control, he chose influence instead. For years, Linux was the underdog used by purists, ignored by mainstream tech. But then, the cloud happened. Suddenly, companies needed speed, flexibility, and scale, and the answer had been hiding in plain sight: Linux. From Amazon Web Services to Netflix, the world quietly rebuilt itself on Linus's foundation. The Linus Torvalds Linux story wasn't ahead of its time, it defined the time the rest of us hadn't reached yet. Over time, the world began to notice. Linus received the Millennium Technology Prize, the IEEE Computer Pioneer Award, even a spot on Time's list of most influential people. But he never changed, no speeches, no brands, just code. For him, the praise was a distraction. The Linus Torvalds Linux story wasn't written for headlines, it was written in silence, one stable release at a time. Linus won't maintain Linux forever, and he knows it, but that was always the plan. He built a system that could survive him. With thousands of contributors, a clear process, and a culture of quality, Linux is now bigger than any one person. The Linus Torvalds Linux story is more than legacy, it's infrastructure. Like roads or electricity, it's invisible until it stops. And that's its genius, you never have to think about it. Linus never wanted to lead a movement. He wasn't chasing disruption, just writing better code. But maybe that's the lesson. Impact doesn't always come from ambition. Sometimes it comes from obsession, from care. The Linus Torvalds Linux story teaches us that quiet work done with purpose can echo louder than any keynote, and sometimes the people who change the world never planned to. In a world obsessed with unicorns and valuations, Linus built something without a business plan. No funding rounds, no IPO, no pitch decks, just purpose. And yet Linux powers more of the modern world than most billion-dollar startups. That's the irony. The most successful tech story of our time isn't a company. The Linus Torvalds Linux story rewrote the rules quietly, without ever asking for permission or profit. Every time you search Google, stream Netflix, or check your bank, Linux is there. It's the foundation beneath the apps, the cloud, the digital economy. Yet it's invisible by design, no logo in the corner, no powered by watermark. That's the paradox of the Linus Torvalds Linux story. It built the backbone of modern life and asked for nothing in return. There was no viral campaign, no TED Talk moment, no Super Bowl ad, just an idea, refined again and again. While the tech world chased attention, Linus chased stability. Linux didn't launch, it arrived silently, then stayed. That's the brilliance. In an age of noise, the Linus Torvalds Linux story proves something radical. True power whispers, and sometimes the quietest ideas last the longest. Linus didn't just write code, he shaped how generations think about code. Open source isn't just a license, it's a mindset, transparent, collaborative, accountable, and that mindset has spread far beyond Linux into AI, education, even medicine. The Linus Torvalds Linux story reminds us, when you share knowledge freely, it compounds. Line by line, year by year, long after the code is forgotten, the philosophy remains. He never asked for a stage, never sold a company, never chased a title. But Linus Torvalds quietly changed how the world runs, not with speeches, but with syntax, not with ego, but with logic. As billions of machines hum quietly across the globe, one truth remains. Most people may never know his name, but they live in the world he helped build, one line of code at a time. No battles, no headlines, just a quiet revolution written in C while the world watched Silicon Valley. Linus Torvalds built the backbone of the internet from a quiet desk. His story isn't just tech history, it's a blueprint for impact without noise. And maybe that's the twist: the most powerful revolutions don't look like revolutions at all. They start with silence and end up everywhere. Behind every smartphone tap, every online search, every rocket launch, Linux hums in silence. And behind Linux, a man most have never seen. Linus Torvalds didn't build a product, he built a foundation, quietly, brilliantly. And his story reminds us not all legends stand in spotlights, some live in source code. So if you believe in ideas that outlive their creators, subscribe and uncover more forgotten architects of our digital world.